Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We've reached the final chapter in my favorite slice of the Mega Man timeline, and yes, it's time for the chaos that is Mega Man ZX Advent. It's honestly one of the harder games to do this in, as some of the medals you need for 100% are just so absurd that I'm convinced Capcom designed them while sleep-deprived and angry. But hey, I signed up for this masochism, so let's lay down the rules before we dive in. Rule number 1, if I take damage, I restart. No exceptions. If a mosquito sneezes on me, we're going back to the last save, or the title screen. Rule number 2, all achievements. ZX Advent has 5 in-game achievements, and I'll be snagging the final 4 for the full ZX Collection 2, because completionism is a disease and I'm terminal. Rule number 3, every medal, every item, every pixel of optional nonsense, we'll be picking it all up. So yeah, this is the end of the road. If you've been riding shotgun through this whole saga, I salute you. And while you're at it, why not like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Helps out small creators like me more than you know. Now let's boot up ZX Advent and see how many times I scream internally before it's all over. It's been about 4 years and 8 months since we last saw Aile, and she's definitely grown up, but don't get too excited. We won't be seeing her for a while. ZX Advent pulls a fast one and gives us 2 new protagonists to choose from, just like the first game. 1 male, 1 female. Let's start with the girl, since she's not going to be relevant to our run. This is Ashe, a 15-year-old humanoid orphan raised by the Hunters Guild. I do love her design, her energy, and her vibes. But let's be real, our other option has a juicier story this time around. Enter Gray, a 14-year-old Reploid with amnesia and a face that screams, "I woke up 5 minutes ago and everything hurts." Canonically, your lead depends on who you picked in the first ZX game. If you chose Vent, then Ashe is your girl. If you picked Aile like I did, we get Gray. That being said, we're starting this playthrough as Ashe, then we're going to switch over to Gray to keep the narrative clean. Ashe's prologue is different, so I figured some of you would want to see it. So let's talk Ashe. She's a loud, confident, tomboyish humanoid who's all about that booty, which is one of the most relatable things I think I've ever said in my entire life.
We've almost caught up to the Raider airship with the booty on it. I'm going to go ahead and meet our booty face to face. Booty, booty, booty.
And yes, they say it a lot. Every time someone drops the word booty, I thank the gaming gods that I'm playing with the Undub mod. Ashe rolls out with her hunter crew tasked by a group called Legion to recover a biometal. You'll be hearing the name Legion a lot, so keep it in mind. Being the impulsive gremlin she is, Ashe charges into the Raider airship solo and shoots her way to the treasure room. After a bit of running, it's first boss time. Unlike ZX, where your human form was basically a glorified crawling simulator, Advent gives you a tiny buster to fight back. After we slap the boss around, guess who shows up? Our old buddy Prometheus. Now, I can't say for sure, but it seems like Ashe and Gray's prologues happen simultaneously. Pandora finds Gray, Prometheus finds Ashe, and depending on who you choose, the other character just vanishes. So I'm left assuming Ashe gets absolutely deleted here. Prometheus literally says, "Prepare to breathe your last," and attacks, and then we never hear about her again. Look, unless she pulled a ninja vanish off screen, she and her group are probably very dead. With Ashe's story closed to us for now, let's jump over to Gray and see how his drama begins. We open with 2 guys, Mick and Robin, breaking into a lab like it's their weekend hobby. Inside, they find a Reploid in a capsule just kind of chilling there. Then, the alarms go off. Security bots roll in and chaos ensues. During the shootout, Gray's capsule gets hit and Mick and Robin get clapped almost immediately, but Gray wakes up just in time to meet Pandora. She tells him he's a rock man, but he woke up before the mind control sequence finished, so naturally she decides he's defective and needs to be destroyed. Gray, being allergic to dying, grabs a buster off the dead hunter and books it out of there. At the end of the stage, we meet the same mechanoid Ashe fought. This is Dogu the Giant. Gray blasts it to scrap, takes a little bit of a breather, and then the bridge he's standing on collapses. He falls quite the long way down, but let's be honest, Reploids have survived much worse. As long as he's not falling from orbit, he's probably fine. Gray wakes up in Hunter's camp and immediately points his buster at the first guy he sees. That guy is Billy. And to be fair, if I woke up with amnesia in a sketchy camp surrounded by bounty hunters, I'd be trigger happy too. Billy explains that he found Gray unconscious, outside, and dragged him in like a stray cat. After the world's fastest introduction, we learn this place is a hunter camp, a glorified hangout for people who shoot things for money. Billy tells us to explore and mentions a trans server next door. Gray thanks him for saving his life, which is sweet, but also kinda awkward considering what happens next. We hop on the trans server and boom, instant hunter's license. Gray's like, "I didn't sign up for this," and Billy lets him know, no license, no leaving. Then, in peak irresponsible mentor fashion, Billy goes, "Hey kid, wanna come on a mission with me?" Yeah, let's invite the amnesiac 14-year-old Reploid to a dangerous job. That's some top tier parenting. Or mentoring. Or Trauma bonding? Whatever it is, it's a weird way to kick off the plot. Before we leave, we meet Nana, the camp's operator. She doesn't get much screen time, but she's cool. She introduces warp points, which are a massive quality of life upgrade over ZX's backtracking. You can now teleport between area segments for a small EC fee to activate them, of course. Back on track, we meet Billy at the train, and he says the mission's just a simple escort to Legion. Remember them? The coalition government that hired Ashe's crew to deliver the biometal? Billy explains Legion was formed after the war and now makes the laws for humans and reploids. Basic little lore drop. Billy then mentions there's a live metal in the cargo, and Gray gets a weird case of deja vu. Then the metal starts talking, and because this is a Mega Man game, say it with me, we get attacked. Enter Prometheus, fresh off his murder spree, and Pandora, fresh off her oops my prey escape. They absolutely wreck Gray. He's bleeding pixels clinging to life, and just when things look real grim, the biometal speaks again. It tells Gray to yell rock on, and with no other options, he does just that. Gray fuses with the biometal and becomes Mega Man Model A. Now, let's talk about this biometal. What does the A stand for? Let's take a look here. Dual guns, DNA copying, cool color scheme. You might be thinking Axel, right? Well, Capcom says no. According to an interview, Model A is based on Axel, but isn't actually him. No clue. But come on guys, it's Axel. The helmet even has a slit referencing Lumine's attack from X8. Capcom hasn't made a game in 20 years and they still won't commit. Between you and me and every other fan, it's Axel. I don't care what any of the devs say. Anyways, rant over. Model A looks sick. Love the design they went with here. Prometheus and Pandora are stunned, but also thrilled. More players for their weird game of destiny they've been teasing since ZX. They vanish, leaving Gray confused and us ready to tackle our first proper stage. Now let me give you a quick gameplay breakdown while I'm at it. Gray's Model A lets you lock onto multiple enemies and fire a barrage of shots, whereas Ashe's Model A has a homing attack that hits in sequence. Her Charge Buster fires a ricochet laser, whereas Gray sticks to the classic X-style charge shot. Most players I've seen prefer Ashe's gameplay, but I could never really vibe with her. We'll cover the differences in other biometals as we unlock them, but for now, Gray eventually reaches the front of the train and meets our first boss, Buckfire the Gaxelleroid, or Diaburn the Gaxelleroid in Japanese. These guys are different from ZX's bosses. They're infused with Model V fragments, which makes them extra spicy. Buckfire calls Gray a defect and says Model A chose wrong, so naturally, we throw hands. Since this is a 100% run, we're chasing medals. Weak points and level finishes don't matter anymore, but each boss has 3 medal conditions. We won't get all 3 in one go, so we'll chip away at them over time. For Buckfire, we're going for the silver medal first by beating him by only hitting his weak point. With Ashe, you can just bounce shots off the wall to do this, but with Gray, it's a bit of a grind. After some close calls and a lot of luck, we blast Diaburn's back enough times to drop him and snag our first non-disc collectible. After the fight, Model A hits us with the, "Wanna see something cool?" Like your weird uncle showing you his vintage magazines or letting you sip beer at age 10 or something. Then, thanks to Model A, we unlock Trans On, or if you prefer, A-Trans. You know, the ability to copy DNA from defeated bosses. This means Ashe and Gray can now transform into Pseudoroids as well as other biometals. We morph into Buckfire, test out his power, and Gray asks Model A if this ability is why he was being hunted. Model A just kind of shrugs. It doesn't even know why it exists. So the two team up, because clearly this mission's about to go full anime levels of dangerous. Billy tells us we need to report the job to a client, so we hop on the trans server and boom, Gray gets pinged by the big dogs of Legion, aka the Sage Trinity, Master Thomas, Master Albert, and Master Mikhail. If those names sound familiar, it's because they're cheeky nods to Dr. Thomas Light, Albert Wiley, and Mikhail Cossack, respectively. Capcom really said, eat up there, Lord Nerds. Somehow, these guys already know who Gray is. They say they're running his file through Legion database, and I'll spill the tea soon, but for now they want him to bring Model A to HQ for study. But first, he's gotta hit up a nearby Raider airship crash site. Huh. Sounds sounds kind of familiar.
Booty.
Ashe's ghost is still haunting the plot while Gray takes center stage. We're tasked with retrieving a part to fix the train that Prometheus and Pandora destroyed, and Gray agrees, hoping it'll lead to answers about Model A and his own scrambled past. I make a quick detour to the Arctic area to unlock a warp point because future me will thank me, and then it's off to the next Siarnaq stage, the Tower of Verdure. Side note, the soundtrack in this game? Every track slaps harder than Prometheus slapped Ashe with his scythe. Inside the tower, Gray gets locked in and forced to climb. Now there are a few collectibles here, but here's a pro tip. Use Buckfire's upward attack to launch into the air. Mid-air, cancel your A-trans, and boom, you can access the side passage early, which is normally gated until we get our next boss's power. At the top, we're ambushed by a giant spider mechanoid, and let me just say, Mega Man spiders are hella cursed. I still have PTSD from Sigma Stage 1 and X1. Both Gray and Ashe handle this boss well, but Gray's lock-on ability lets him target all the limbs and delete it fairly fast. After that, you've got a few seconds to grab a health upgrade before this pipe on the side of the tower collapses. Not needed for a damageless run, but hey, 100% is 100%. In the same busted pipe, there is a disc that normally I'd say come back for later when the pipe respawns, but you know me, I'm allergic to patience. Use Buckfire's big jump, cancel A-trans midair, land on the wall, and grab the disc early. 10 seconds later, we hit the boss room and come face to face with Rospark, the Floroid. He's trying to suck the soul out of a raider named Jerry, or Gary? I don't know, man, it's spelled with a G. Rospark calls Gray a handsome boy, like a total weirdo, then reveals he's been capturing unlucky raiders to feed their souls to Model W. Oh great, we're back to this again. Y'all just can't let Model W die, huh? For this fight, we're going for the bronze medal, which just means beating Rospark in his bulb form. Translation, stand underneath him and blast his leafy cheeks when he tries to drop them on you. Also, shout out to that new Buster finish animation. Watching your shot tear through bosses like a saber slice? So cool. After the fight, Gray finds Jerry losing his mind, and he doesn't notice the Model W core in the background. And surprise, Model W slurps up his soul like a Capri Sun. Then, out of nowhere, two new Rockmen show up, Siarnaq and Aeolus. They flex their transformations into Model P and H respectively, and it's time for a bit of a lore dump. Now, if you're new to ZX, you may be thinking, wait a minute, didn't Aile have those biometals in the first game? What the fuck? Well, you are correct, but before Advent, Prometheus and Pandora stirred the pot by stealing Model H, F, L, and P and handing them off to 4 new Mega Man, Aeolus, Siarnaq, Thetis, and Atlas. We'll cover the latter 2 later, but for now, little is known about Aeolus's past. He was approached by Prometheus and Pandora, accepted Model H with the goal of using Model W to purge the world of foolishness. Is he a Reploid or a humanoid? No clue, but his design's fire. He's really got Harpuya's smug energy and pride dialed up to 11. Siarnaq, on the other hand, is a Reploid with an emotionless face dressed in shinobi-style garb, which fits Model P's stealth motif. His database entry said he was betrayed and nearly killed, which led him to shut off all emotional connections. So basically Phantom 2.0. Loyal, cold, trust no one, you know, the usual. Gray gears up for a fight, but the two say nah and dip, insulting the rookie Mega Man before vanishing with Model V. In order to leave ourselves, we transform into Rospark, which allows us to climb across these metal pole type things now. We hit the trans server, and our job is done. Remember that waypoint I unlocked earlier? Told you future me would be grateful. Saves us a metric ton of backtracking and at least 3 existential crises. Next up, Arctic Ice Floe, and yes, ice physics. Nature's way of saying you will suffer. Honestly though, it's not as bad as I remembered. Still annoying, but not full-on rage fuel. This is actually the first stage where we'll have to skip some items and come back later once we have more powers. It downright hurts my completionist soul. First up, we've got a mini-boss. And this is where Gray absolutely outshines Ashe. His lock-on lets you target every single hitbox and break the boss's arms instantly. If RNG blesses you, and the boss stays on the floor instead of going to the ceiling, you can just mash the shoot button like your life depends on it, and he'll go down faster than you can say Model W was a mistake. Quick detour just above the mini-boss, we meet Mary, an adorable wannabe hunter who definitely isn't subtle about needing our help to catch her moth. We use Buckfire, catch the moth, and get paid 100 EC. This area is also the one with the collectible we have to skip. There's a secret disc on the right that Ashe can grab with a lock-on trick, but Gray doesn't have that luxury, so we'll be back later. Before we move on, I swap to Rospark and grab a very useful sub-tank, and by useful I mean it'll sit in my inventory untouched because, well, you know the rest. After destroying a few server nodes to clear the path, we run into 2 more Mega Men, Thetis and Atlas. These 2 are my favorites of the 4 new biometal holders. They wield Model L and F, and they're here to flex. Atlas is my kind of girl. Strong, aggressive, built for Model F. According to her database entry, she's a former soldier from a Maverick-ravaged nation. Her home got nuked, and she's developed a power is everything mindset, believing that humanity only evolves through war and thinks peace is for cowards. Thetis, on the other hand, is a young Reploid who seems sweet at first until he opens his mouth. He's obsessed with the ocean, sea life, and wants to use Model W to wipe out humanity so nature can thrive. Like some kind of marine biologist with a god complex or something. They show off their transformations, tell us to go kick rocks, and Atlas yeets us into the ocean. Down below, we meet our next Pseudoroid, Chronoforce the Xiphosuroid. Chronoforce! This fight is kind of spicy. Chronoforce can rewind time, forcing you to dodge his attacks again, but in reverse. It's kind of like fighting a boss and his ghost at the same time. For this fight, we're going for the silver medal, which just means using Buckfire's dash to land the final hit. Simple, clean, and satisfying. After the fight, Chronoforce hits us with the line, "You're just a pawn in the palm of his hand," and Gray's like, who the hell is everyone talking about? Model A is just as clueless, so we move. Now, let me say this loud and clear. Chronoforce is OP. In and out of the water, this transformation is cracked. We now have the ability to slow time, and it even slows bosses, which opens up some absolutely filthy combo potential for future fights. In the next area, the game flexes its puzzle muscles and makes us use all three of our new transformations to disable the security on a door leading to the crashed raider airship. Inside the next area, we find an injured raider named Dan who tells us their ship's under attack and they need help. Gray, being the absolute Chad of justice, heads straight in. Model A tries to argue, saying stuff like, why help a bunch of degenerate raiders? But Gray hits him with the cold hard truth, that he shouldn't need a reason to save lives. What a Chad. We push through the stage and run into a mini-boss. Basically the snake mechanoid from ZX that Aile fought, but this one shoots rings of fire like it's auditioning for a Johnny Cash cover or something. I slow time with Chronoforce, blast it in its face, and it gets deleted nice and easy. In the next room over, we rescue some raiders and grab some collectibles because, let's be honest, those discs are just about as important as human lives. Then, deep into the ship's bowels, we run into our girl Atlas, who's trying to turn the remaining crew into Model V's Lunchables. She and Gray argue morality for a bit, and she's like, screw it, let's just punch each other and see who's right. Now, unlike the Pseudoroids, the other Rockmen don't have medals tied to their fights, so we can go full attack mode. Sadly, none of them are much of a threat. I wish they hit harder, but Capcom didn't ask me, so our strat's gonna be the same as it's been with quite a few encounters so far, where we lock on and fire with a charged shot for a bit of extra damage. Before leaving, Atlas says even as a defect, you're still one of his creations. She says if Gray's determined to fight, he'll eventually learn who he really is. Then she dips. We absorb Model F's DNA, and unlike in ZX1 where we physically obtained biometals, this time we're just copying them. Guess that'll be Aile's job in ZX3. Oh wait, as we copy Model F, Gray suddenly gets hit with a wave of pain and receives a recording from the mysterious guy everyone's been talking about. Turns out he embedded bits of data inside Model A that only unlock through battle. The message? He who holds Biometal Model V will hold the power to rule the world. So yeah, stakes officially raised. Afterwards, Gray uses Model F's ability to blast through a wall of Ceratanium and save the last few raiders. For context, and I've mentioned this in like the last 3 videos, Ceratanium is the same material used to build the classic Mega Man. Sure, it's been, centuries and tech's kind of evolved, but still. Imagine Model F just punches the OG Mega Man and he blows him up. One of the raiders we saved promises to change his ways and become an honest hunter. Good character development, speedrun complete. Model A breaks the 4th wall like it's a Saturday morning cartoon. Use the bottom screen to adjust your buster trajectory. Meanwhile, I'm standing here like, bro, I'm on a PC. What bottom screen? Are you okay? With the main objective wrapped, it's side quest o'clock. First stop, snagging our first biometal upgrade. Then we move into this room, and normally you'd need Model P to reach the next section, but we're just built different. Diaburn's attack lets us hop on these platforms like a caffeinated kangaroo. We grab this wrench, hand it off to Antonio, and he rewards us with the featherweight chip, because nothing says progress like turning in random plumbing tools for combat gear. Back at Hunter Camp, we head to the bar, meet Jim, who's on a quest for a magic fruit to make someone fall in love with him. Morally questionable? Yes, but EC is EC. Then we meet Chris, a kid who wants superhero merch in exchange for some of his pin collection. We track down the guy who sold his comics to Tina, who casually says she gave them away. Because of course she did. We go back to Chris and he's like, oh yeah, it looked scary, not like a superhero at all. Then gives us a disc for wasting our time and immediately takes back the pin he gave us. This is why I hate children in RPGs. They're all just mini trolls. Next, we talk to Richard, who challenges us to beat his score at the firing range. Thanks to Model F, this turns into a full-on joke. We obliterate his score, get 100 EC, and bounce. Final errand, we head to the Tower of Verdure, grab the green apple, and hand it off to the bar owner for a clean 200 EC. Easy money, questionable ethics. Onward to our next main objective, we swing by the train station and chat with Nina, who hands us an orange as a thanks for fixing the train. Not exactly a medal, but hey, free fruit. We hop on the train to Legion HQ, and along the way we stop by a side room where a guy named Patrick asks us to return a backpack someone left behind. We agree, because apparently Gray is now part-time Mega Man, part-time Lost and Found clerk. And then we begin moving back through the stage. As we move, Gray and Model A overhear some chaos. Model A says there's a shootout, Mavericks must have gotten here first. Time to move fast and save the Sage Trinity before things go full apocalypse. This is where Chronoforce earns his paycheck. We slow time to avoid the absolute flood of enemies on these staircases, and let me tell you, getting smacked by endless Mavericks on motorcycles is not my idea of a good time. With Chronoforce active, it's like we're Neo in the Matrix, except with more pew-pews and less leather. At the top, we meet Siarnaq, who's ready to throw hands. Model A calls him weird, accurate, and Gray says he'll do whatever it takes to recover his memories. Siarnaq takes that as a valid enough reason to switch into Model P, and the fight begins. Like the other Rockman battles, this one's a breeze. Siarnaq barely moves, attacks slower than a Windows XP boot-up screen, and generally feels like he's just kinda here to fill a quota. We blast him down using the same lock-on and charge shot combo that's been carrying us through half the game, and after the fight we absorb Model P's data. The message this time says live metals can enhance users to superhuman levels and that they're searching for someone worthy to wield Model V for the next step in evolution. Yawn. But then it drops a real bomb. Model V was created by one of the Sage Trinity. Now let me ask you, who do you think it was? The one named after Cossack, Dr. Light, or Wily? Yeah, not exactly subtle, Capcom. Model A starts questioning whether we should even continue, but Gray shuts that down. This is the best way to uncover the truth after all, and he's not backing out now. The rest of the stage is pretty standard fare. We ride hoverboards, spam Model P's attacks, pick up another sub-tank, and eventually reach the Stage Trinity's chamber. Just as we arrive, Master Albert reveals himself as the creator of Model V and goes full villain monologue. He straight up tells Gray he wants to dispose of him ASAP, calls him defective, and pieces out like a Bond villain.
Aileさん、君は私の影なのだから。
Master Thomas steps in and explains that the Sage Trinity have mechanical bodies and have lived for centuries. When Albert joined, he was already deep into Model V research, and then he adds that when they searched for Gray in the database, they found nothing, meaning Albert probably wiped the records. Gray hears this and is understandably pissed. He came all this way for answers and got hit with a blank file, but Thomas says Albert accelerated his plans the moment Gray showed up, which means Gray's existence clearly matters. Before they can unpack that, Master Mikhail interrupts with news of Maverick attacks happening all over the world. And just like that, we've got our next objective. At this point, the game finally loosens the leash and lets us roam a bit. So before we dive in, let's quickly run through the remaining Pseudoroids we haven't slapped around yet. Argoyle and Ugoyle, the Shisaroids, Queenbee, the Hymenopteroid, Vulturon, the Condoroid, Hedgeshock, the Erinaceroid, and Bifrost, the Crocoroid. Honestly, I think Capcom did a much better job making these bosses more memorable compared to the first CX game. Could just be me, but they've got more personality, more flair, less generic robot number 7, you know. That said, we're not tackling any of them right now. I'm heading straight for Aeolus at the Floating Ruins. Priorities, people. We gotta get all the biometal transformations first. When we arrived, the islands were standing on start floating. I mean, it's literally called the Floating Islands. Did you need me to explain that? Master Thomas casually drops that the gravity is busted and tasks us with tracking down the source. The stage itself is kinda mid, considering how cool the backdrop is. We're using Chronoforce to slow down the enemies because dealing with them at full speed is a one-way ticket to pain, and then we just outrun the camera like we're speedrunning a Sonic game. In Area 3, we do wander into a cave and meet Meg, who asks us to collect some stuff. Naturally, we say yes, and then immediately ignore her request. We'll come back when we have more transformations. No point in trying to do fetch quests without the right gear. Eventually, we reach the boss room, and surprise, it's Aeolus, just like we expected. He's chilling with a fragment of Model V. Fun fact, in the Japanese version, Aeolus is actually named Helios, and honestly, I kinda prefer it. Sounds cooler and more mythic. Gray asks what he plans to do with Model V, and Aeolus hits him with the "You're naive" card. He questions how Gray can even call himself a rockman when he doesn't understand the significance of Model V, and you know what? I'm with Aeolus on this one. Gray, my guy, we've had 2 ciphers spelling out what Model V does. How are you still confused? Read the damn lore. Aeolus says he doesn't have time for idiots, and the fight kicks off. And yeah, this one's probably the toughest of all the Chosen One battles. I did cheese it a bit by swapping to Chronoforce and slowing time because this attack he does? Yeah, I ain't trying to dodge all that. Once you get past that though, he's about as easy as the others. Chosen One's my ass. After the fight, Aeolus calls us ignorant, refuses to acknowledge us, and then dips with the Model W fragment like a sore loser. We get another cipher, and this one talks about the Chosen Ones. And it comes with this cool image of Jirwe, Serpent, Vent, and Aile, and the other Rockmen from Advent. But then things get weird. Albert casually mentions that all the Reploids who came to Legion to have their lifespan shortened, you know, the whole equality thing from ZX1, he just slipped some of his DNA into them, which is mad sus. I'm assuming he means blood, but still, not much better. Bro has some serious issues. Probably not as many as Dr. Vile from the Zero series, but he's still weird. Gray's understandably shaken, but Model A gives him a pep talk and tells him not to worry too much. Our boy pulls himself together, and it's time to keep moving forward. Meg's gonna have to keep waiting on that fetch quest, because we're headed straight for the control center, and if you've got ZX1 flashbacks kicking in, you're not alone. We're back in Slither Inc.'s HQ, baby. Look, the table's still here. The same one that Serpent probably monologued over while sipping his evil juice. The Mavericks have attacked to retrieve the Model W fragment that Serpent used, which has caused an uncontrollable thermal runaway. And of course the elevator's busted. I mean, did you see what Aile did to this place? But thanks to Model H, it's not a problem. He's still rocking that upward dash from ZX1, so vertical traversal's a breeze. We also make a quick pit stop for our second health upgrade because Damageless doesn't mean we skip the gains. Speaking of Model H, the charge attack actually differs between Ashe and Gray. Ashe launches one tornado forward and one behind, while Gray fires his forward in a V shape. I didn't mention the differences in Model F or P earlier because, I just forgot, okay? With Model F, Ashe gets bombs she can throw or plant, and with Model P she gets a shield, similar to Aile's, just slightly tweaked. I never used it in the first game, but hey, it's there. Gray, on the other hand, gets the classic ZX1 moveset with the big throwable shuriken and the flaming punches when fully charged with Model F, which I actually prefer. They're simple, clean, and they hit like trucks. Eventually, we reach a mini-boss, swap to Model F, and change our buster pattern to something weird, but trust the process. This setup absolutely shreds the boss. We climb the rest of the stage with Model H, and I gotta say, even if he's not as cracked in Advent as he was in ZX, I just love this form, man. This moveset is peak Mega Man. Then we hit the boss room, and surprise, it's Prometheus. Bit unexpected, but he's here just to have a bit more screen time. He asks us if we learned anything, Gray yells at him, and Prometheus calls us scum before piecing out with the Model V fragment. He did promise to cut us down later, so that's fun. Immediately after, we're greeted by our next Pseudoroid, Queenbee the Hymenopteroid, though I still prefer her Japanese name, Kaizomin. She reveals herself as the source of the thermal runaway, which means she's gotta go.
He has to go, blood.
No mercy for bug ladies causing global warming. This fight's actually a 2-for-1 medal opportunity. First medal, beat her by only attacking the pod, and second medal, make sure she doesn't summon any of the small bees. Using Model F and our buster pattern lets us hit the pod without much effort. It's a bit tedious, but it works. Eventually, she goes down and we're rewarded with our medals. After absorbing her DNA, we use her massive bee ass to lift the module that activates the subsystems and stops the thermal runaway. Huh. Well, job well done, I guess. Next up, we hit the highway to claim our final Mega Merge. This one takes place in Sinkville, the same city from ZX1. Look at me learning names I didn't even know before. Growth. The city's under siege by Mavericks led by Thetis, who's trying to snag a Model V fragment buried underwater. Meanwhile, the civilians trying to escape have caused a massive traffic jam. Ah yes, Classic panicking civilians. As usual, I'm swapping transformations like a madman. Model F to break the blocks, Chronoforce slows time, and then we speedrun to the other side to grab our second live metal upgrade. Pretty slick, right? Midway through the stage, we hit the traffic jam. The people are being attacked by a mechanoid that's basically a remix of what Aile fought in ZX's opening, but this time we have Model F. All it takes is a few upward shots and it's lights out faster than you can say Maverick extermination. With the jam cleared, I switch to Model H and slice through the next section in slow-mo like it's a training montage, and eventually we reach another mini-boss. Model H may not be as cracked as he was in ZX1, but his 3-hit combo still slaps. This mini-boss doesn't really even stand a chance. When we finally come face to face with Thetis, he drags us underwater to show off his Model W core.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water.
He admits that he started this whole thing defeated, and Gray calls him out for attacking humans just like him, but Thetis comes back with the classic superiority complex. We're rockmen, we're above humans, and boom, fight time. Thetis is definitely one of the tougher Mega Men. He's fast, slippery, and loves to spam attacks, so yes, I use Chronoforce again. I know I've been leaning on the time slow mechanic, but come on, we're underwater. It's basically a free pass to nerf Thetis' speed. Once he's slowed, I swap to Buckfire to hit his weakness, and when he summons enemies, Model F's perfect for clearing out his little toys. Honestly, this is probably the most enjoyable one of the Chosen One fights. He's not brain dead, he's not slow, and he actually makes you work for it. In hindsight, I probably could have just used Model A to brute force it, but this setup works fine. After the fight, we unlock our 4th Cypher and Albert drops another lore nuke. He reveals he created 2 Reploid siblings, infused them with Biometal power, and gave them a mission: find the strongest Mega Man to serve as a vessel for Model V. To do this, he scattered Model V fragments and basically started the Mega Man Hunger Games. Winner gets crowned the Mega Man King and wields Model W. It's pretty obvious who those 2 siblings are, but Model A still doesn't seem to get it. Bless his confused little data core. We head out and Master Mikhail lets us know that everyone's safe. Time to test out our new Model L powers. Ashe gets a new Ice Ball attack, which is fine and all, but Gray, he gets Leviathan's iconic Ice Dragons. Again, Gray gets the classic moves, and again, I still prefer that to the new stuff Ashe gets. Next up, we're diving into the Scrapyard, where I can only assume that all of Zero's victims are buried somewhere beneath the rust. So what about the lore here? This place used to be covered in snow, but after a Model W fragment activated, the machines went haywire and melted everything. So now it's just machines, misery, and the world's worst metal in the entire game. Seriously, 90% of this stage is just walking through doors. Get used to that transition. It's your new best friend. Once we're inside, it's Chronoforce time again. He's the MVP for dodging trash raining from above. Slow time, swap to Model H, dash through, go full blender mode on any Mavericks. Easy. A bit annoyingly, I had to disable the featherweight chip here. It's the only thing keeping us from getting sucked into the machine heap, and we actually want that to happen. Why? Because there's a disc down here. Yup. That's it. That's the whole reason. Let's go home. In the next room, the enemy placement is so perfect, it's like the devs wanted Gray to tornado both of them just for the flex, and I respect it. Before we hit the boss, we meet James, who looks like he's high on whatever passes for hard drugs in this timeline. He asks us to bring him some junk to recycle while standing in front of a literal mountain of trash. Bro, just bend down. I know it's a 2D game, but even NPCs should have some basic spatial awareness. For the rest of the stage, it's Model P time. He's the only one who can grab these switches we need to progress. From here, we grab the ignition item, go through like 3,000 more doors, and then this part's actually kind of cool. We pull a lever with Model P, swap to Chronoforce to slow time, and rush into a room to skip an entire puzzle for the next life up because I'm just built different. It's like speedrunning, but with style and cheating. Mostly cheating. We keep moving, grab some titanium, and hit the final room with the crusher blocks. Normally you'd flip switches to get through here, but Model H's tornado can actually hit them through walls, so yeah, we just cheat again. We also grab the last piece of junk, an engine, and finally, after what feels like the longest stage in ZX Advent, we reach the boss, Condoroid. Dude shows up with a dramatic ass entrance and then immediately ruins it by saying, "That's pretty rockin' of you, Rockman Model A." For this fight, I went in aiming for both the bronze and the gold medal. Bronze is easy, just survive for 2 minutes, but the gold? Oh my god. You have to beat him using only Model A's Giga Crush, and Giga Crush charges slower than my earbuds when I need to leave my house. If you accidentally hit him, get hit, breathe wrong. Boom, back to the start of this long ass stage. You need to land 7 to 8 Giga Crushes. No joke. This boss can go straight back to the junk heap he crawled out of. If Omega was the hardest boss I've ever faced in ZX1, then if you include this metal condition, Condoroid is the dumbest. I don't care where he goes. Hell, the Void, a retirement home for bad boss designs, just get him out of my sight. Rant over. After that nightmare, we end up in the next room and find Pandora just standing there. Has she been listening to my fight, or was she just vibing with Model V like a Spotify playlist? Either way, it's weird. She asks Gray if he hears the cries of the world, and he says yeah, but he always seems to find her at the center of it. But she flips the script and says those screams are caused by him and Albert. Then she dips, taking Model V with her. But not before dropping the cheerful line that in time we will know all there is to know, and it will drive us to despair. Yikes. As always, we test out our new transformation. It's basically a worse version of Queenbee, mostly useful for grabbing counterweights and opening paths. Not exactly game-changing, but hey, another form for our collection. Alright, time to head back to base and tie up some loose ends. Remember Ray, the guy who gave away his comic books to a hot pirate lady in a desperate attempt to get some action? Yeah, well, his backpack's missing. Pretty sure I picked that up like before Albert went full anime villain? Almost forgot about it actually. We hand it back to him and snag another disc for the collection. Thanks for the side quest, Ray. Hopefully the pirate thing works out for you. Next, we talk to Warren, a hulking behemoth of a man who looks like he drinks gasoline for breakfast and bench presses vending machines for fun. His tiny daughter Blossom asks us to get her some flowers, and I'm not about to say no while her dad's staring at me like I just insulted his workout routine. Then we swing by Building 0 and meet Kid, who's been drilling into the ground and swears there's something down there, but he needs money to keep going. So we pay him, leave, come back, pay him again, repeat like 4 more times until he finally uncovers the area. Eventually, we unlock a room and meet Nick, an old gen Reploid who wants to turn the place into a cafe. But he needs blueprints, so we accept his quest and keep funding Kid's excavation empire. At this point, I somehow missed this jump to grab the blueprints even though my face was literally inside them. Nice hitbox, Capcom. We hand off the blueprints and Nick starts selling E-tanks. Useless to our damageless selves, but hey, completionism demands it. Kid then tells us he can't break through the rest of the area without a pickaxe made of ceratanium, which is the same metal the OG Mega. Also, we steal someone's shortcake from the fridge on our way out. Don't tell anyone. It was delicious. Morally questionable, but delicious. Finally, using our newest transformations, we unlock a hidden area in camp and enter what is, without exaggeration, one of my favorite stages in Advent. You'll see why when we reach the boss. We enter the first room and immediately spot one of those spider mechanolites from the Tower of Verdure, except this one's been absolutely obliterated. Gray and Model A speculate that a Rockman did this, but why would one of Albert's chosen destroy their own Maverick? Suspicious. Maybe someone's finally tired of the game of Destiny and decided to rage quit. Technically, we should be using Model P to see in the dark here, but I ain't about that life. I could have done this blindfolded. Okay, no, I'm lying. It's actually terrifying down here. Someone send help. And a headlamp. We grabbed the legendary pickaxe on our way through, which is cool, but what's even more cool is that it's made of ceratanium, which, did I mention that's what the OG Mega Man... Eventually, we reach the boss door, and who's waiting for us? Aile, the girl who started it all. Aile, I've missed you! She's 18 now, and wow, she grew up. Honestly, both her and Vent's designs in Advent are beautiful. Long-haired Vent is kind of a snack, not gonna lie. His hair is almost as long as mine IRL. Seeing the MC from the previous game all grown up is just so satisfying. According to the devs, the time skip between ZX and Advent was chosen specifically so Vent and Aile could feel like older siblings to Ashe and Gray. And yeah, it works. Big sibling energy all over the scene. Gray and Aile immediately assume each other are the enemy, and Model X warns Aile about our live metal, and she's like, well, guess I have no choice, and transforms. Let me tell you, this transformation scene, it rivals some of the best Zero game intros. Seeing Aile become Model ZX again is pure hype. She just looks so badass. But let's be honest, she fights just as mid as the rest of the Rockmen we faced so far. Canonically though, you'll never convince me Gray or Ashe would ever beat Aile or Vent wielding Model ZX with 4 years of extra experience. We won this fight for one reason and one reason only: plot armor. After the fight, we unlock our final cipher. This one reveals Albert's ultimate plan. He wants to use negative emotions to awaken and combine all the Model V fragments into one biometal called Ouroboros. And as a Kiseki fan, I already know that name means bad news. The snake eating its own tail, death, rebirth, and usually a whole lot of suffering? Yeah, no thanks. This revelation basically confirms that Albert just might be stupid. You're telling me this man was probably around when Zero blew up Ragnarok and didn't think, maybe combining world-ending weapons is a bad idea. Although, to be fair, Model V does seem to influence people who mess with it, so maybe he's not entirely in control. Still, bro needs therapy. Model A finally starts putting the pieces together. Why it was created, why we can Mega Merge. As Aile asks for an explanation, the Model V core falls deeper into the mines. Gray yells at Model A to spill the beans, but Model A refuses. Aile tells Gray to stop being a dick, and Gray immediately apologizes. That's growth right there. Lots of plot dump here, and things are only going to get weirder as we dive deeper into Gray's past. Makes you wonder what Vent's up to right now. Canonically, both Aile and Vent exist in this timeline, even though Aile's front and center in this playthrough. Maybe Vent's running Jiroi Express. More love letters and cleaning houses like we did in the previous game. Funnily enough, we now do have Model ZX unlocked. It's a solid form, but I barely use it. It has its moments, for sure, just not right now. The thing I really don't like about it is the fact that Gray gets the downward stab and Ashe gets the uppercut, which just happens to be one of my favorite Zero moves, so I was a bit disappointed by that. Model F, though, that's the real MVP. We got blocks to break and no time for elegance. While punching our way through everything, we grab the third biometal upgrade, which is definitely handy. At the end of the stage, we find yet another dead spider mechanoid that's been decimated by the Model V fragment. But don't worry, it gets resurrected! Yay, more trauma! Model F absolutely cooks this boss, extra char. Probably our fastest kill yet, actually. The game tries to pull one of those, oh no, the boss is too strong moments, but Aile shows up and kicks its ass in one hit, just like her old mentor. Jiroi would be proud. Aile says she came here to destroy Model V and end the game of Destiny. We hold introductions and have a little tea party for our live medals where Aile explains her backstory for anyone who missed it in ZX1. On our way back to camp together, we explain everything we've learned so far. Prometheus, Pandora, Albert, the other Rockmen. Aile's like, oh, so that's where my other live medals went. Honestly, Aile and Gray have some sweet interactions. There's this moment where Gray asks what you dudes are fighting for, and Aile just kind of sighs like a disappointed big sister. She gives him a pep talk about finding his memories, hands us the green key card, and tells us there's a Pseudoroid in the area it opens. Then she heads off like the badass she is. Gray apologizes to Model A again, promising that when Model A is ready to talk, he'll listen. Until then, he's going to keep fighting for the people who have helped him. Before we dive into the massive collectathon and final missions ahead, we've got one last errand to run. Remember the pickaxe we grabbed earlier? Time to turn it in. We head into the newly cleared area in camp and meet Romeo, who gives us 1,000 EC to go fetch a shelf he ordered for the room. So now we're basically FedEx, except we deliver in 7 to 8 months and occasionally blow up robots along the way. Next stop, Waterfall Ruins. Master Mikhail's traced the computer that Albert used to hack Legion's database and erase Gray's records, so naturally we're sent to check it out. This stage flips the whole Mega Man formula on its head. We fight the boss immediately at the start, and honestly, that was one of the deciding factors for making me want to pick this stage next. No warm-up, just straight into the pain. And this boss is actually kind of unique. We're up against 2 bosses at once, and the medals are all tied to that. We're going for the gold this time around, which means we have to beat them simultaneously using Buckfire's charged attack. It's tricky, but if you use Chronoforce, life gets a whole lot easier. I also bring out Model ZX here. By slicing each boss's health down to 1 HP each with the saber, we can line up the perfect Buckfire finish. It's clean, stylish, and it's one of those clip it for the montage moments. Our new transformation is pretty sick. It lets us split into a ghost form and grab items through walls. Finally, a form that says I'm here to break level design and steal things. As we move through the stage, we grab the Lily for Blossom and her gasoline guzzling dad, along with the final life upgrade, because nothing says I'm invincible like having a massive health bar in a game where I literally can't take damage. When we stumble into a random cave, we meet Peter, who asks us to clear out a pest problem. Seems easy enough, or at least it would be if he didn't immediately hit us with the "Good job, but at least 50 of them escaped. Can you go get those too?" Thanks, Peter.
You jackass!
We reach the end of the stage, but since we already clapped the Pseudoroid, we fight whatever this thing is. Doesn't matter. Model F and a custom buster pattern turn into scrap quicker than you can blink. Then we enter the final room and surprise, it's Prometheus and Pandora, just casually standing in front of the completely trashed computer we were sent to investigate. They say they're onto the final stages of the plan and don't need to hack anything anymore. Apparently our snooping isn't welcome either, so they broke the computer. Up until now, we thought they were working with Albert, but nope. They claim he's gonna die soon. Prometheus says he'll explain everything later, that he'll tell us when we're dying. Bro, chill. You're not the Joker. With that, Greg grabs whatever data he can salvage and sends it back to Legion along with his mission report. One more piece of the puzzle locked in. For our next area, we're heading back to where Gray first woke up, except this time, we're on the opposite side of the collapsed bridge. And for all the Model ZX fans out there, you're in luck. We're actually going to use it right here. Once we reach the lab, we find two capsules eerily similar to the one Gray was in. He checks the console, and surprise, surprise, it reads Prometheus and Pandora. I mean, no shit, right? It was pretty obvious who the Reploid siblings were, but hey, we love a dramatic reveal. Guess we're finally piecing together Gray's backstory, huh? Thomas chimes in and says the counter on the panel is probably their lifespan, and it's set stupidly short. If they're not brought in for maintenance, they die. No wonder they both act like they've got sticks up their asses. Albert basically slapped a collar and leash on them and pointed a gun at their heads. Peak parenting, am I right? In the next area, we keep using Model ZX, except now we're pushing these weird battery-looking things to power up this place. It's like a puzzle, but more tedious than I'd like. We then swapped Argoyle and Ugoyle to grab our third sub-tank through the wall. Insert funny joke about sub-tanks for the 12th time. Look, at this point, they're just glorified collectibles. Regardless, it's boss time. We're up against Hedgeshock the Erinaceroid. For this fight, we're going for the gold, and it's tied to an achievement, both requiring us to beat Hedgeshock in either Gray's Reploid form or Ashe's human form. Technically, the achievement works on any boss, but hey, two birds, one spiky rodent. Hedgeshock drops an interesting line when he dies, that your strength is just like Albert's. Cool. Thanks for probably giving Gray an existential crisis, Hedgehog. In the next room, Gray finds another capsule, this one labeled Prototype. Model A snags a data disk from the drive, and we head out. Now remember way earlier, like back in the Chronoforce stage when I said we had to skip a collectible? Well, now we can finally grab it. Hedgeshock's ability lets us curl up and attack, which means those annoying jelly blocks are no longer a problem. Completionists can rejoice. Thomas contacts us after we send in the data and lets us know what's on it, transport coordinates. Apparently, we now have a way to reach Albert. For now, we're heading into the sewers, which you can reach back at home base. We'll be spending more and more time with Model ZX here, along with Hedgeshock for collection purposes. A few other Pseudoroid forms do come in handy too, but let's be honest, this is ZX's time to shine after not using it at all after getting it. About halfway in, the sewer stops looking like a sewer and starts looking like a weird lab covered in blue goo. Gray says it's industrial sewage and that it stinks, but hey, at least I don't have to smell it. Perks of being the player, I guess. We're swapping between Model H and Model L a lot here. Water sections are tailor-made for Model L, of course, while the main corridors favor Model H's speed and aerial mobility. The main goal here, though, is grabbing our fourth and final Biometal upgrade. Look at that. It matches my health bar now in terms of how massive it is. Pause. I'm not saying I'm overcompensating, but I'm definitely not undercompensating. At the end of the stage, we meet our next Pseudoroid, Bifrost the Crocoroid. And he is a unit. Gray notices the mechanoids in the background and realizes they look familiar. That's because they're all copies of Dogu the Giant, the opening boss of the game. Apparently, this place is being used to mass produce them like some sort of evil Costco inventory. Bifrost claims that they'll be deployed on day 1 by whoever becomes Rockman King, and their goal is to wipe out all the remnants of the old world. So yeah, kinda dark, like Albert read too many dystopian novels dark. Just like with the last boss, we're going for the gold again. This means beating Bifrost only using Model A's homing laser. It's easy enough, but honestly a little disappointing because Model ZX absolutely obliterates this guy. Like, blink and he's gone, but hey, metal's over style, I suppose. With Bifrost data, we can now chomp through those weird yellow blocks we've been seeing all over the place. And with that, we've officially taken down all 8 Pseudoroids. Cue the confetti! Or don't. I'm tired. Funnily enough, as one of you pointed out the other day, it is pretty hilarious that you can transform into Bifrost basically anywhere. Just imagine Greg casually morphing to this giant crocodile mech in the middle of a hallway. The only downside gameplay-wise is he's big, bulky, and slow. So unless you're trying to cosplay a tank, he's not ideal for dodging face punches. Using the door over here, we keep moving forward. Don't worry, it's nothing special. Just a little maze where we use Hedgeshock to grab a collectible. Nice warm-up before the real grind begins. Now, we got places to be, so it's time to dive into the side quest gauntlet and grab every remaining item. I'll go through this fast, so don't blink. Or do blink? I don't know, I'm not your mom. Prepare yourself or skip ahead. This is going to be a mouthful. Now I won't show off all the discs, there's way too many, but I will show off that one we skipped earlier. We also unlock every single teleport point because we have so much EC at this point, Gray might as well be a Reploid millionaire. Back at Legion, we talk to Tillis, who tells us it's time to become a firefighter. There's a fire in Legion HQ, and apparently Gray's the only one available. Look, I know he's a strong Mega Man now, but he's still a 14-year-old with amnesia. Maybe don't send him into burning buildings? We report the backpack quest to Patrick, who lets us keep the disc, talk to Austin about the shelves, talk to Rudy, who offers fast travel back to Hunter's Camp for 50 EC. Pricey, but convenient. Back at camp, Elena tells us to screw off and then immediately asks for help finding her pendant. Mood swings much? Pierre wants us to retrieve a bird-shaped camera. Apparently it usually flies over camp, but recently flew towards some smoke. George asks us to protect the energy stores because he's too weak to do it himself, and Model ZX handles that like a champ. Romeo now has his shelves and asks us to find a missing hunter. Amy wants some plants from Legion, and Carly wants a rare mechanoid part from the oil field. Now, onto the good stuff. If we jump on the roof of Building 01, we find some copy and pasted hunters who exist solely for the purpose of metal grinding. Talking to them respawns the bosses we've already fought. Good job, Capcom. You knew what I wanted. Jark wants a model train set, and Ray is writing a comic about a robot that fights with 2 fans. According to the Mega Man wiki, this is probably a reference to Aircon Man from the obscure Japanese-only Mega Man game called Rockman and Forte Mirai Kara no Chosensha. Hope I got that right. Regardless, pretty cool. Al has the train set but demands pudding in return, because of course he does, I mean just look at him. We grab the pudding, get the train, and hand it off to Jark, who says he's wanted this train set since he was a kid. Look buddy, I found it in 2 minutes, so either you're lying or you need to try harder. We then talk to Sharon, who wants some comic books, then to John, who gives us the absorber chip, which is about as useful as it was in ZX1. Now, I kinda like John until he said, "Thanks, playa." Friendship instantly terminated. But now it's refight time. First off, Buckfire. This metal is brutal. Not because of the fight, but because it requires using the goddamn touchscreen. You know, the thing I don't have on PC, so I'm stuck using a weird-ass cursor. Thanks, game. We stop by Legion to buy the comic books, kill some cave critters, pick up a plant, which I may have grabbed the wrong one, but we'll fix that later. And then we put out the fires using Queenbee. Turn those in, get the Wind Boots chip, and head back to Slither Inc. Save the missing hunter, grab the bird camera, and refight Queenbee, this time without attacking the pod. And that's all 3 medals for her. Go us. Back to the sewers for Elena's pendant, then to refight Bifrost using only Buckfire, which is nice and easy. Set the transceiver in the oil field for the rare parts quest, then we turn all these in to get the frog chip, berry, ice boots, and the bird cage. Anna lost her bird, but never fear, Gray is here, or something like that. We save the bird, turn in the flower to Blossom and her dad, and find out that her mom actually passed away. She wants to place the flowers on her grave. Honestly, I just find that really sweet. She gives us the eraser chip, which I'll definitely be making use of. Up to the Tower of Verdure, we refight Rospark, and this time as Rospark, because nothing says psychological warfare like beating someone as themselves. We kill some more critters, turn in the junk we collected earlier for the booster item, refight this fuckface. Last metal is a lot easier though. We get it by just beating him with Model H's Sonic Boom, which is the 3rd hit of his combo. On the highway, we kill more critters and race Green Biker Dude 2.0. First without the booster, then with it. Now remember that quest on the floating ruins? Time to finally collect her stuff. She's looking for classic Mega Man items. Why they're scattered here, I have no clue, but speculate away. That's something for my fellow lore enthusiasts. For our trouble, she gives us our final sub-tank and we claim the achievement for collecting all 4. Next refight, Chronoforce, using only Queenbee. Easier than it sounds. Refight Hedgeshock, finish her off by knocking a rat into her using Argoyle and Ugoyle, which is surprisingly hard. Then we refight Argoyle and Ugoyle, killing them simultaneously with Hedgeshock. Easy peasy. Turn in Elena's pendant, get the boss refights again, teleport to the old man and report that all his critters are dead. He gives us the extender chip, which is just lovely. All that work for something I can't even use. But I guess that's the life of doing these challenge runs though, huh? Back to the oil field, we get the gift card, lollipop, rice cake, wish card, Laffy Taffy, and mystery present. Now I haven't mentioned it yet, but here in the oil field, depending on which real life month it is, you can get special chips. If you enter one of the rooms in Oil Field 3 in February, you can pick up the Demon Buster chip, which will increase buster damage. Very good. Highly recommend. If you enter in March, you get the Baby Doll, which increases all the damage of female Siarnoids. Also good. Entering in May gives you the Warrior Helmet, which is an attack increase for the male Siarnoids, so again, very good. In June, if you enter, you get the Soccer Ball chip, which replaces Argoyle's bombs with soccer balls. Purely visual, so I don't know, D-. Finally, if you enter in October, you get the Magic Pumpkin, which extends the time of your elemental attacks. B+. You could wait half a year for these, or just change your console's date. I did the latter, marking them off for completionist's sake. Finally, we trade the wish card to Nana for an apple, give the present to Chris for candy, give another present to Blossom for homemade bread, and that takes off all the healing items. Stop by the mine, talk to Lem, pay him to clear the rubble, grab a disc, and then I'll go pick up the last few annoying medals. Beat Rospark with Argoyle, beat Bifrost with Queenbee, and then beat the twins with Model A's Giga Crush. And that leaves just 2 medals left for the final stage, which are both super easy. Last thing, grind boosters over and over again for the races so we can become the ultimate racer. I mean racer. Definitely racer. And with that, every single side quest in the game is done. Every item collected, besides the last 2 medals, and thank actual fuck. I don't think I could handle much more. Man, I really hope this video isn't like 5 hours long after all that side quest madness, but we're not done yet. We head back to the sewer, use the initialization key we got from the lab on the inactive trans server, and finally make our way towards Albert. Now pause a second and listen to the beginning of this track. Anyone else hear that?
Wait a minute!
It sounds exactly like my favorite song from X1. That's Boomerang Kawanger's theme. That's Boomerang Kawanger's theme. No question about it. You ain't getting past me. Now, I don't know if it was intentional, but Capcom, you sneaky little producers, A+ Banger Metal Award. Honestly, I'd give this whole stage a Banger Metal. We get to use Model L again, and anytime I get to wield the powers of a top-tier Mega Man wife, it's a good day. Elegant, icy, lethal, what more could you want? After we absolutely massacre everything that breathes underwater, we unfortunately have to swap off Model L and go back to Model H. But at least he's still fun. Especially when we get to do this kind of nonsense. Eventually, we reach the final area of the stage, and it's covered in Model V cores. And right in the center, Albert. Man, if I had a nickel for every time someone named Albert terrorized the Mega Man universe, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's really weird that it happened twice. Then boom, Prometheus and Pandora appear. They thank Gray for leading them here, and Prometheus straight up kills Albert. No hesitation, just uses his scythe and game ends him. He tells Gray that they've been using him this whole time. In fact, they've been using all the Mega Men. They knew this Mega Man style Hunger Games would lure Albert out, and once he showed up, they just waited for Gray to lead them right to him. Now, they've got one last task. They say they can't get their old bodies back, can't change their predetermined fate, so they'll fight us until either we keel over or they do. It's dramatic, but it's definitely one way to start a boss fight. The fight itself, though, is super easy. Use Chronoforce to slow time, swap to Model ZX, and do the combo Buster Shot into Air Spin into Triple Slash, and then just repeat. If you're fast enough, you can actually one-cycle this boss. Of course, I didn't do that because I suck, but close enough. It's not as easy as their fight in ZX, but still pretty simple. Gray tries to tell them that the fighting is pointless, but it falls on deaf ears. Suddenly, the two collapse and a new guy appears. He says that their years of hate and suffering were the final pieces Model V needed, and Gray immediately recognizes that this is Master Albert. Turns out that the thing Prometheus killed was a fake. Classic Mega Man villain move. Always got a spare body, a clone, a backup plan, some type of USB stick with their consciousness on it. Well, anyways, the room starts shaking and crumbling, and we're forced to escape, leaving Prometheus and Pandora behind. They had a good run, and honestly, I really did enjoy their characters. Pandora especially. Her Japanese VA is one of my favorites. She voiced Byleth in Fire Emblem, Kafka in Honkai Star Rail, and even Ahsoka in Star Wars. That's a resume that slaps harder than a Model F charge shot. Back at Hunter's camp, everyone watches in horror as Albert's plan comes to pass and Ouroboros rises, dragging a whole army of Dogu mechanoids along with it. Yeah, that's probably a bad thing. The camp starts freaking out because, surprise, they have no idea how to deal with a floating death fortress. Then boom, our favorite red Mega Man Post-Zero shows up, and Aile boldly steps forward and says she's got an airship we can use. We get this awesome scene where the Guardians roll in, and Aile mentions that the ship belongs to her and her crew. So yeah, I guess she's probably taken over for Prairie, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Prairie's gone in search of any traces CL left behind. Girl's got a legacy to chase. The guys at camp say they're coming too, but Gray tries to shut it down, saying that this isn't just some bounty hunt. But Master Thomas strolls in like he's been waiting for this moment his whole life and says, oh, it most certainly is. This is now an officially recognized mission from Legion. Take down Ouroboros, stop Albert, and save the world, just like Mega Man have always done. He puts Gray in charge, and with Aile and the rest of our camp crew, we storm off towards Ouroboros like it's the final act of a shonen anime. Cue the theme music! Model ZX puts on a great show here. The stage is pretty tough, but they really went all out. Tight platforming, enemy gauntlets, and that we're in the endgame now energy. Mid-stage, we run into Albert, who shapeshifts into every boss we've faced so far and taunts us like he's rehearsed this monologue in front of a mirror for weeks. They're going to kill you! Yeah, sure, buddy. Let me just go ahead and remove them from the timeline real quick. Albert claims that because Model A was built in his image, that's how he can use Trans-On. But that's just the appetizer. His real power? Everything Model V consumes lives on inside of him. He claims he has the power to control all life. So yeah, we're dealing with a god complex wrapped in a lab coat. He disappears, and it's time for the final boss montage to begin. It's been one hell of a journey the past 6 games, but it's time for one last round of boss clapping. I'll catch you guys at the finish line. As we enter the final area, we're immediately confronted by all the chosen ones at once. Aeolus, Atlas, Thetis, and Siarnaq. And no, I definitely didn't mispronounce his name earlier. Shut up. Just when it looks like we're about to get clapped in a 4v1, Aile shows up to even the odds. She tells Gray to go fight Albert while she takes on all 4 of them. See? That's the canon Aile. Losing to Gray? Nah. Taking on 4 biometal holders solo? Yes, please. She lets them know that those biometals belong to her, and it's time she took them back. We confront Albert, who's acting all high and mighty. I knew you'd come right about now, buddy, quit your yapping. But after all his yap, we finally get the truth. Gray is Albert's successor, made in his image, his son. Damn. Most of us pieced it together from the lab stuff, but hearing it laid out like that, that's gotta hit Gray like a truck. Then, Albert drops a bomb that the A in Model A stands for Model Albert. But he'll always be Axel to me! On a more serious note though, I wonder if Albert found Axel's data in some archive from the Elf Wars and went, ooh, copy chips, don't mind if I do. Regardless, Albert transforms into Phase 1 and says we're of no use to him anymore. I skipped the cutscene to set his pattern here. Classic 03 strat. Now, a lot of people say this fight is tough, but personally, I've never had an issue with it. We swap to Model H to dodge, instantly Chronoforce slow, and then switch to Model F and let my fast as fuck fingers do all the work. His health bar evaporates in about 15 seconds. With Phase 1 down, Albert transforms into his Phase 2 where the dragon heads detach and try to attack us. I promptly ignore all that and keep shooting, and he gets 1 attack off before going down like a chump.
See you, chump.
Albert starts ranting about how humanity is doomed to fail. Haven't heard that one before. Gray claps back, bro, you can't just make yourself ruler of humanity for some stupid reason like that. But Albert says no, he's not trying to rule the world, he's trying to recreate it. Ah, so that's why the symbol of the ultimate biometal is Ouroboros. Death, rebirth, snake eating its own tail? Makes sense. Albert finally lays it all out, claims he's a god, transforms into his final phase, and calls Gray defective. But Gray's ready to take the bull by the horns and show his creator what this defect is made of. Model ZX is definitely the way to go here. We can absolutely melt Albert's final form, but I'll let the footage speak for itself. Enjoy the carnage. With Albert broken and defeated, Gray tells him that yeah, maybe he is defective, but Albert couldn't even change the destiny of a regular-ass kid. I'll give Albert one thing though, even as he dies, he's still an absolute asshole. Rot in the peace you won for yourself, he says. Then he calls Gray the ultimate defective and fades out. As Ouroboros begins to descend, Gray says he's tired and passes out. Model 8 kind of panics, begging him to wake up, but Gray is out of it. We cut back to Aile, who knows Gray has won, but she knows she can't escape a 4v1. But Model Z says he'll stay behind. He promises he won't die and then takes on all 4 of them alone while X and Aile make their way to Gray's side. Man, he doesn't even have a body and Zero's still a fucking badass. That's why he's my favorite character in the series. He drops the 4 Guardians without even lifting a finger, and Ouroboros meets its end. Gray reawakens back at camp in the same bed we started the game in. Model A says he was really worried, and Gray kind of just cracks a joke about it being out of character. Outside, Gray and Aile meet face to face, and Aile says she wants to travel the world in the Guardian base now that peace has been restored, and Gray agrees. He wants to go on a trip and make his own destiny. Model A decides it'll be best to go with Gray, and with that, we end the story of our young Reploid Gray. But we're not quite done yet. I replayed the game on hard mode just to get footage of this cutscene for y'all. Post-credits, we see the last two sages, Thomas and Mikhail. Thomas says, "Is it really so preposterous for us to give birth to new life?" He explains that he and Albert made the laws giving humans robotic bodies and Reploids limited lifespans to make the world equal. But where are the original bodies? Where's the original Reploid data? He claims that the world needs to be reset just as Albert intended. The four chosen appear alongside him, and we're left on a fucking cliffhanger for a sequel that will never come because it was canceled. Canceled just like my emotional stability when I found out that's how it all ended. What a way to go, huh? God damn it, Capcom. Thank you all for watching this long-ass journey. Your support's been insane, and I really hope to see you all in the next one. Bye-bye. Roger from the future here, y'all. Don't worry, I didn't forget. We gotta get the last few achievements for the collection before we move on, and I don't have footage for them, but as you can see here, I did get all the Z-Chaser stations done. We look through our cards here to get the Card Collector achievement, which is our last and final one for the ZX Legacy Collection, which means this game is mission complete.